Hello, this is Frida Liu and you're watching The Shift Asia. I'm here with Satu Creative, which is a social enterprise dedicated to supporting early stage and growing innovative and impact-driven enterprises in creating positive impact through capacity and ecosystem building programs. I'm here with the CEO, Ahmad Azuar Zainuddin, who is an educator and entrepreneur committed to driving economic and social impact through entrepreneurship and innovation, and a fellow Sarakian. So always good. Now, I've been watching the impact organizations in Malaysia for a while now. And what was the challenge you were trying to resolve when you started Satu Creative?
Thank you, Frida. Satu Creative, as you mentioned earlier, is an impact-driven organization. Basically, we are a social enterprise looking to address issues regarding small businesses, impact-driven enterprises in order to deliver their services. So among the challenges that these businesses face are, of course, the lack of knowledge in certain areas.
Okay.
They are often have strength in certain areas, whereas there are some gaps of knowledge in some areas.
Right.
Secondly, of course, it's a gap in terms of, I guess, the network and connections that they have. There's another challenge that many businesses face. Third would be a bit of resources.
Okay.
So we're also working on connecting funding, seed funding,
Right.
in order to help these businesses, I guess, deliver the impact that they sought out to deliver.
Okay. So when you say lack of knowledge in certain areas, is there a pattern?
Uh,
What seems to be the area that the lack of knowledge?
Okay. For most businesses, they are very, I guess, adept and skillful when it comes to delivering the product or services. I think the broader issue is perhaps a bit of a gap in terms of the business skills or certain aspects like managing people or certain aspects like, I guess, marketing. So these are just a sample of areas that we try to narrow the gap for these businesses.
Okay. Do they come in also sometimes still thinking like an NGO as opposed to business, or have we evolved since the last 10 years?
I think we have evolved since, you're right there. For many businesses, they are keen because they hear a lot of these successful stories, and the media tend to perpetuate that, sharing that it is very simple to raise funding, for instance, that the market will just miraculously fall in place.
I tell you, this is what media does to you.
Yes. So we do have a lot of that gap, like businesses coming in thinking that it's easy for them to get a sizable amount of funding, but in fact, it's very competitive.
Of course.
There's a lot of demand with limited supply. So of course, like any businesses, it's very market driven.
Right.
So this is where we try to, I guess, support them through, I guess, the resources that we integrate and pull together in order to deliver programs that we provide.
Why the focus on early stage?
Yeah, because in order to have quality, you have to build the funnel.
Okay.
So when we look at the ecosystem currently, of course, people are keen to invest later on because it's basically a little bit de-risked.
Right.
So there's a bit of space where we felt some attention need to be given.
Right.
So with this regard, this is where the small growing businesses, small growing, I guess, future businesses, area where Satu Creative can come in and support. So looking at this, these businesses are very important, Frida. First and foremost, they provide employment. They, I guess, create an ecosystem, a supply chain, and so on. And thirdly, as well, a lot of these new businesses, these are where the innovation are coming into the market.
And we need to build up that funnel. We don't even have enough of that funnel. And it's so important. I think more importantly, social enterprises have an impact.
Yes.
Right? An impact to organizations and our society. So tell me about the recent collaboration you had with Yayasan Hasana, MOF, the Ministry of Finance, MDEC, and Tabung Economy Gagasan Anak Sarawak. And this is the Satu Creative Hasana Impact Challenge, right? And what's the relevance and connection with all the parties getting together?
That's very interesting because when we were engaged and approached by Yayasan Hasana, of course, with the collaboration with the Ministry of Finance. I think the idea here is, again, similar to what we were talking about earlier. There is a need for us to, I guess, support the movement of social impact businesses.
Right.
So with that, there's already some alignment.
Right.
So working with other parties and organizations that already been working together with Satu Creative, like MDAC, as well as Tegas, then it just, I guess, create the perfect, I guess, I wouldn't want to use the word storm, but I guess the perfect storm for us to come together and and deliver this program, the Satu Creative Hasanah Impact Challenge. So if we look at MDEC, for example, nowadays you can't escape from technology.
Of course.
Regardless of what nature of business it is,
Yeah.
there is no choice. People has to adopt digitalization. So even with impact-driven businesses, and with Tegas, the angle here is regional. Looking at the challenges, we have to be inclusive.
Yeah.
It cannot be too, I guess, Klang Valley focused. So
Right.
with Satu Creative, we've always tried to reach out, like going to Sabah, going to, I guess, Pahang and
Yeah.
Sarawak, of course. So
Yeah.
that, I guess, allow us to deliver the Hasanah Impact Challenge as a pilot. This is the first one.
Right.
Hopefully, there'll be many more
Yeah.
collaboration with not just Yayasan Hasanah, with collaboration with Ministry of Finance, Tegas and MDEC, but also other organizations
And
as
you're
well.
right? We have to go beyond the Klang Valley because to be inclusive, right? And the needs are so different, in the different parts of Malaysia as well. Now, the focus for that was on the areas of environment, arts and public spaces, education, and community development. Is there a reason why these pillars were selected?
Looking at the pillars, these are the broad pillars. It captures a lot of areas. And as we look at the 4 pillars, these are things that requires immediate attention. When we look at environment, for instance, there is the climate situation, the changing patterns of weather causing all sort of havoc
Yeah.
across the country. Looking at education, access to quality education to those that otherwise do not have access to them. This is also very important. Looking at community development, I think there are a lot of challenges. We talk about inclusion, talk
Yeah.
about underserved, unserved, and lastly, arts and public spaces that often are overlooked.
Looked, right?
Yes, because,
Yeah.
sorry.
And when you see something that has been well planned, you're like, it just does a lot for well-being
Yeah.
of a person in terms of art and public
Yeah.
spaces.
If I can add on that,
Sure.
Frida, because the importance of social enterprises, impact-driven businesses, is the idea that the government do not have the, I guess, ability to tackle all problems.
Yeah.
So it have to. I mean, the government likes to use the term whole of nation approach and all that. So this is where it is very important for us to empower social enterprises, because the difference between social enterprises, impact-driven businesses, to an NGO, for example, there is an element of sustainability.
Yes.
It is market-driven.
Right.
It is very entrepreneurial, which complement, I think, not to replace, but complement what the government is doing, the great work that the non-profit have been doing for the
Yes.
longest time.
Yes.
So this is an area that I think warrant attention and support.
Right. And of course, to be sustainable, you've got to run it like a business, right? What are some of the winning solutions that stood up for you?
This is interesting because we had application from a dozen states coming into the Satu Creative Hasanah Impact Challenge. So there are many attractive and interesting businesses tackling issues from sustainability to improving livelihood. But one thing among the things that the businesses that stood out to me was this business called Earthlings.
Okay.
They're based off Sarawak.
Okay.
So what these 2 gentlemen were doing is they're looking to improve the coffee production
Yes.
process.
Yes.
So they are working with businesses in, I guess, further deep into Sarawak,
Right.
and helping them increase the value, increase the marketability of their coffee beans.
Okay.
And at the same time, they're very sincere in supporting them. There's no obligation. They don't
Right.
lock them to work with them.
Right.
Once the coffee production process has been improved, they are free to work with anyone, and they like it like that.
Okay.
Because this is where you see that the mission comes first.
Right.
Over the business side, that is
Right.
also very important.
Yes.
I think that's the quality. Just one sample, but imagine if we support more businesses across the country, not just in Sarawak.
Yeah.
I think they will be doing a lot of good, not just for Malaysia, but even beyond.
Right. I've got to get in touch with them, right? And how are you measuring impact in terms of doing this, right? How do you measure impact?
Of course, as a social enterprise, impact-driven businesses, we measure impact ourselves. We encourage businesses to measure the impact because that's important for their sustainability as well. If you claim to be doing good, you have to have evidence, reason to believe.
Right.
So in our case, because we work with small growing businesses, social enterprises, what we measure is generally the growth of the business in terms of top line revenue, We measure, did they receive external funding, which is a validation
Right.
of the success of the business. On top of that, we also measure the growth in terms of new jobs created. We measure job retention. We measure as well, not sort of in terms of accolades that they receive as
Right.
well. So we have a broad picture.
Right.
So the measurement is quantitative,
Right.
where we're talking about revenue, job retention, and all that. But we also look at the qualitative when we
Right.
discuss with them how confident they are, how
Right.
they've been transformed.
Yeah.
The measurement is not short term. When we measure some programs that we run, it measures up all the way up to like 2 years beyond the program, so that we can actually have a more longitudinal
Right.
study of their performance.
Right, and I know it may be quantitative, but really sometimes, what seems like a small amount to me makes a life-changing, for certain communities as well. So you have some sort of success stories here in Malaysia, and is scaling up more of a challenge when it comes to impact organizations, and where have you seen some of these impact organizations potentially or have already explored beyond the country?
Yeah. We've seen many social enterprises. There are, I guess, it's a growing, emerging space in the country. So because of that, I think for a period of time now, we are starting to see more businesses exploring regional areas. I think it's timely as well. Next year, Malaysia is already taking up the baton of
ASEAN.
chairmanship with ASEAN. But there is collaboration. It takes an ecosystem approach. Even locally in the country, we are looking at an ecosystem approach. Growing beyond the shores, it takes an ecosystem approach as well.
Right.
So this takes stakeholders. I think the government has been supportive, the private sector, of course, entrepreneur support organizations such as ourselves are also playing a part, because at the end of the day, they are businesses. Again, we talk about sustainability. You can't be too dependent on one market.
Right.
It's a risk on itself, but at the same time, when there's product market fit, your product is, I guess, meeting the needs of the market, there is opportunity for you to expand. So in order to expand, of course, you need to build the collaboration and network. Number two, also the access of funding that allows them to expand and I guess have the resources, because ASEAN is so big. We're looking at almost 700 million population, and I think it's a growing market as well, fast growing market globally. So it's very attractive, and we are seeing that opportunity. Even for Satu Creative, for example, we are, I wouldn't use the word exporting, but we are already collaborating with partners in the region, with Hasana, the Satu Creative Hasana Impact Challenge. We had speakers from Singapore, ourselves as well. We've supported other programs, for instance, in Brunei, where we are exporting Malaysia talents and services to the region as well.
Okay.
And we may that continue, and we look forward to expanding as well.
Okay, and I guess like when you look at what's happening right now, and I know some things are not meant to be done in a hurry if we want it to be, long-standing, right? What do you feel needs? What more needs to be done? What else is, apart from working with the other, collaborating with other countries? What else is Satu Creative hoping to do?
I think on our end, there are areas where I think warrant attention as well. When we run programs, how do we improve the quality of our program? Right now, internally, if I can share,
Sure.
we are looking at how do we make our program more inclusive, gender inclusive, for instance. So these are areas where we're looking at improving. I think beyond that, it's also looking at emerging and best practices.
Right.
So that, as you mentioned, it is about quality. It is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It's about aligning and growing in a way that it is sustainable, right? Sometimes if you're not ready, and this goes with the entrepreneurs that we support as well. You need to build your capacity, build the strength, and based on that strong fundamental, you keep on growing, keep on exploring. I think it's very important to test and validate as well. Right. So that's a form of de-risking. There's no silver bullet, and yeah, a little bit I can share.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing. And I'm really excited about what's happened with the challenge as well. And of course, you've been watching The Shift Asia.